All right, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Tuesday, December 2nd. My name is Efeler Ligi, and welcome to the Volleyball Journal. Now, I know I usually record these on Mondays, and it's been 2 weeks in a row that I've done it on Tuesday, but I've just got a lot going on. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of things on the side, some non-volleyball related things, and of course some other volleyball related things. So you might have to bear with me, right? The old 9x9 was sometimes on Mondays, sometimes on Tuesdays, and that might be the case for this show as well. Now, today is also going to be a quick one. I was hoping to be able to get on here earlier, but I just didn't have a chance. And actually, now that I think of it, I don't even think I have pushed this in the Discord just yet. So give me 2 seconds. If you're already here, thank you. Appreciate you having those notifications on, because that's clearly what you had. And yeah, I appreciate you. Everyone, I'm the only one who's allowed to tag everyone, of course. I'm live. Okay. Sorry about that. Now we'll get back to today's episode. If you're listening on audio, appreciate you having the patience to bear with us, because I mean, in some ways it's been a crazy, messy week of volleyball, and in other ways it's been pretty normal. Women's Champions League is off to a really hot start. Some people in the Discord are saying that it has been one of the craziest starts so far that we've ever had, and that this year's edition is even more exciting. And unfortunately, I haven't really watched much of it. So this week I need to do better at that. This week I need to do much better at watching the Women's Champions League. There's no doubt about it, and we're lucky we get 2 weeks in a row of it. But other than that, of course, the Polish PlusLiga continues to be messy. Everyone is beating everyone. No one is safe. I think this has been one of the most entertaining seasons of volleyball that I've ever seen, bar none. There's so much going on all of the time. So I can't wait to dive into it a little bit. But other than that, some pretty pedestrian things going on, especially in Italy. We will talk about the Efeler Ligi today if you are a Turkish fan, for a number of reasons. We had the big dogs going head-to-head today. With Galatasaray, was it Galatasaray and Fenerbahce? Fenerbahce taking on Halkbank, and Galatasaray with Ziraat Bank. And it's been really interesting. So let's just jump into it. First, of course, we do have to talk about the Women's Champions League. All right, that is the first place that we are going to start. And you know what? Shoot. Just give me 2 seconds here to change something, because I, in my haste, did not switch over my slideshow from last week to this week. So let me just do that real quick. Apologize for the terribleness here. I'm sorry, but you know, sometimes that's show business, baby. Sometimes that's just what happens as you do this in a hurry after being on the phone all day in meetings. So there we go. That is better. As we see here on the screen, the results for the round one of the Women's Champions League. Can you still hear me? I don't know. I pressed a button by accident on my mixer, and I'm not entirely sure what has been going on. But it looks like you can still hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can. But as we go over here, some of the first results of the Champions League, there's only a few that I want to talk about. It seems pretty normal on the outset. I mean, week one, but there is one specifically that I want to talk about, and it is Zerinspor, the team that bought their way into the Champions League, essentially pushing Conegliano to 5. In what went absolutely down to the wire. It was a back and forth match. Zerinspor won the first 25-23. Then it was Conegliano 26-24. Zerinspor answered in the third 25-23 again. Then Conegliano 25-22. And then they were able to wrap it up 20-18 in the fifth. And I mean, I think this is big for a few reasons. for a number of reasons. First of all, it legitimizes, Zarenspor buying their spot. It's always a little sketchy when you have a team buying their way into the Champions League, especially when their title sponsor is now also the title sponsor of the Champions League. But it really legitimizes their spot there. And I mean, I do think that this is also just another evidence, even more evidence that Alexander Uzelats is one of the best young talents we have in this game. And on the left side as well, in a game that is has been absolutely dominated by opposites recently. A left side goes out there and absolutely kills it. She had 24 points in this one. She was 23 for 72. They do so much of this. They do give so much volume to her. 72 sets is so much, but that is a big match on her end. And of course, on Conegliano's side, you had Isabel Hawk dropping 29. She was 27 for 59 in this match, with Gabi adding another 21. But we did see Zhu Ting come back into the lineup and kind of peter out. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit since she's been gone for the Chinese national games. Is does she still have a spot in this lineup? And then she got the start in the first two sets, only had 6 points, and then they ended up switching to Nika Dalderop, and she ended up with 17, going 15 for 37. Of course, you still have Fatima Tassila on the bench as well. So I think that this is really big for Zarenspor, to give them the extra confidence. And I also think it gives the big confidence to the big clubs like Fenerbahce and Vakifbank to, go after Conegliano a little bit, right? Conegliano has looked way more pedestrian, way more human than they have in years past. Of course, they lost to Milano in the Supercoppa. They've gone to, 5 with a few teams this year, and they just look a little bit more up and down than they were. So Zarenspor putting a scare there in Conegliano, going all the way to the limit. I mean, Zarenspor led for the majority of that fifth set too, right? They're up 5-4, up 10-7, up 12-10, and they just weren't able to close the door too much. As I mentioned, Uzelats leading the way with 24 points. You also had Bronkika Mihailovic. Oh, no, sorry. That was Maya Alexis, which is 19, and Anna Lazareva with 18. So that was a big result there in week number one. It would have been big if Conegliano lost their first match, but Zarenspor getting some really good confidence from that. Also in Pool D, and, they... CMOC, I don't remember. Apparently they were up 14-11, but I did not watch this match. I haven't bought CEV TV yet, and I need to. I need to be able to watch some of these matches. But I do think that, like, Pool D, we'll go over the pools in just a second. Pool D is hands down the toughest pool. It is the deepest pool, where you have an Italian team, well, the Italian team, the best team in the world. You have a Turkish team in Zarenspor, Polish team in Komerson Lodz, and a Polish team in Komerson Lodz, and then a German team in Dresdner. And of course, the German team actually taking down the Polish team in this one 3-1. Dresdner took it 26-24, 25-20. Then it was 25-17 for Lodz in the third, and then 25-23. The Germans wrap it up, all on the back of Latvian Marta Levinska. She had 26 points in this one, 23 for 49 overall. Also had help from the young Japanese teenager Miku Akimoto. Now, Akimoto did play for Himeji. Yeah, I think it's Himeji Victorino is the club name in the SV League last year, but she did come off the bench. She didn't get that much playing time last year. She only played in 12 matches and only appeared in 31 sets, and then was also on the Japanese roster for both the VNL and the World Championships this summer. But 17 points, 13 for 25 with 3 blocks and an ace. So that was a really good result for just the young 19-year-old. And of course, those Japanese players coming into the European leagues, they generally tend to be a little bit smaller, but not Akimoto. Akimoto is 6 foot. She's 185 centimeters. So you can see why there's been a bit of a push from her for her to go to Europe and play in Europe to be able to get that experience playing with the bigger athletes. And now we've seen that play it on the men's side, of course, with Ishikawa and Ran, and of course Otsuka, and then of course you do have Mayu Ishikawa, Yuki's brother or sister, I apologize, playing for Novara. But it's good to see these Japanese players getting out there playing in Europe. And this match is actually a huge win for the German club because they got 3 big points on the road. 3 big points in Poland, in Łódź. So that is a massive play, especially in the long run, because this is going to be a really tough pool to get points in, right? It's going to be really tough for them to take off points against Conegliano, really tough for them to take off points against Łódź. So if either one of these teams wants to hopefully be that one of the third place teams to move on, they need to get some points here. So that was a really big play. One other match that I do want to just touch on is the other Łódź team taking on Novara. And not because this match was all that exciting, all that much. Novara won it 3-1. They lost the first 25-20, then it was 25-19, 25-23, 25-17 to wrap it up 3-1. But it is notable because it is the big return of Tatiana Tolok. And now I know that she did play against Macerata the week before in the Lega Volley Femminili. However, this is the first time that we've really seen her go out there and dominate. And dominate she did. She had 25 points, 24 for 37, with a very high efficiency. She was just blocked once, no errors, and also had a block of her own. Her serving could have been a little better. Missed 5 on 10, so missing 50%. So not a great look out there for Tatiana Tolok. But with her return to the lineup for Novara, that makes things a lot more interesting for a club that has been up and down and really lacked that go-to scorer so far this season. Right? We've seen them with a few different looks. Taylor Mims, unfortunately, hasn't been what we would hope she would be. We saw her really be a game changer last year at the end of the year, but that hasn't really come to fruition so far this year. We've seen them move Herbots to the right side. So now with Tatiana Tolok coming back, this does just give way more options for Novara moving forward. Of course, you can bring in Mims off the bench, and she doesn't have to necessarily play the whole game. And then you have all 3 of your outsides with Ishikawa, Alsmeyer, and Herbots on the left side. So that one is definitely a notable result. Also, moving forward, any other results to talk about here? No. Fenerbahce beat Benfica 3-0. Sashabashi beat Zelenikar 3-0. Pretty pedestrian. It is to note, though, for Novara, because they will be taking on Fenerbahce this week. And as I mentioned, it was 2 straight weeks of, we don't need that to be that big here. So we're going to have to do some editing as we go here. Week 2 has already started. It already started today. And already, now I talked about almost having an upset last week, and we did have an upset today with Olympiacos. Olympiacos from the Greek League, Olympiacos Piraeus, coming out of the qualifiers, having to qualify for this tournament and taking down Eczacıbaşı at home today. And that is a big, big result for the Greek club in Pool C, taking down one of the Turkish giants in this match, all led by Milika Kubura, who is a Greek Serbian. She had 26 points in this one, going 24 for 65. Also, Amanda Konyo getting 13, and Ivana Vanyak with 14 for Olympiacos. And on the side of Eczacıbaşı, it's not like, they made a lot of attacking errors. Let's start with that. 18 attacking errors, and it was everyone, right? It was absolutely everyone. Magdalena Stisiak led the way for them in scoring. She had 22, but she did make 4 attacking errors and got blocked 3 times. And the same thing for Yaprak Erkek, who came in, and not a great showing for her. She played the first 3 sets and then got yanked. We saw her a little bit in the 5th as well too. She was 4 for 21 overall, got blocked 4 times and with 4 errors. And the same thing with Karakurt. Karakurt, decent. She hit a 48%, but was 15 for 31 overall with 2 blocks and an ace. So 18 unforced errors. They got blocked 13 times. Just not a great showing. And they also got aced 9 times for Eksaşehirspor. And unfortunately, I didn't watch this match. I may have to go back and check it out. But I did see a few highlights that were posted in the Discord. And people were saying, this is the microcosm of what happened in this match. And it's literally just Eksaşehirspor tripping all over themselves, tripping all over the place. So not a good look for the Turkish club moving forward. So as we stand right now, this is what the pools look like. Vakifbank in Pool A at the top, they are 2-0. They also got a 3-dong win today. Skandici will be playing a little bit later today, or this week. They're in second. Le Canet from France in third. And then Alba Blaj from Romania in fourth with 2 losses. Then in Pool B, Fenerbahce 1-0, Novara 1-0. As I mentioned, these two teams are playing Thursday at 6 p.m. in Novara. That is going to be 12 p.m. here in North America on the Eastern time. So make sure to check out that one. That is the first big matchup of the Women's Champions League. It's going to be a good one. Also the other teams in this pool, Budvani Vuj in third with a loss, and then Benfica also in that pool, also losing in week number 1. Over in Group C, Eksaşehirspor in first place, but probably not for long, as Milana will be taking on Železničar later on this week, and that's where things are starting to get interesting. That is a really big win for Olympiacos. If they can just win both of those games against Železničar, that is a really good spot for them to get one of the third place teams moving forward. One of the third place bosses moving forward. In Group D, as I mentioned before, Corneliano 2-1 or 2-0 because they got a nice little 3-dong today against Dresner in second place as well because they got the 3 points, and then from their win against Vuj, and then Zarensport will be taking on Vuj later on this week. And then finally in Pool D, Schwerwin got the really nice win over who is the other team there in the Women's League? Why am I blanking on them? Over Paris St. Cloud last week. And Schwerwin is actually down over against Martia Plodiv earlier today, but they managed to come back and get that one. Pool E is wide open. You got Schwerwin out of Germany, Rzeszów out of Poland, Plodiv, Martia Plodiv out of Bulgaria, and then Paris St. Cloud, PSC, if you will, out of France. So that one is a wide open pool with no Polish teams or German teams as well. So that one should be for Rzeszów to be able to take it. They'll be taking on PSC on Thursday. Now, just some of the other matches that you can look forward to today or this week. Tomorrow, there is going to be 4 matches. Zarenspor against Vuj, Železničar against Milano, Benfica against Budvani Vuj, and Le Canet against Skandici. And then on Thursday, as I mentioned, of course, Novara against Fenerbahce. That is a must-watch. And then PSC over Rzeszów. I guess I said... No, that's what I said earlier. So big times starting up here as the Champions League starts up for the women. And before we get too far into it, we do know the teams now for the men's Champions League as Quagwas and Bled, ACH Ljubljana. Sorry, yeah, ACH Ljubljana. They used to be called Bled. Now they're Ljubljana. Have both qualified, and this is what the groups are going to look like. In Pool A, you have Trentino, Toulouse out of France, Ljubljana out of Slovenia, and Zirabank out of Turkey. This is a really fun pool. I really like this pool. Trentino has kind of looked up and down a little bit. Zirabank is stacked, and they've been crushing the Efeler Ligi. Toulouse has been the best team in the LNV, I'm pretty sure. And Ljubljana is a pretty veteran team that has a lot of experience in the Champions League. In Group B, we have Knack Roeselare out of Belgium. Galatasaray and Halkbank, both out of the Efeler Ligi. They did not play today. And then Lublin as well out of the PlusLiga. That one is an absolute stacked league. a stacked pool, it might be the pool of death. Now, in Pool C, we have Berlin Recycling Volleys out of Germany, but this is not the same Berlin team. They are not struggling, but they are not dominating the Bundesliga like we have normally seen them. You also have Prague out of the Czech League. Perugia will have a fun time because honestly, I think Perugia is going to dominate this pool, and then the other three are going to battle. Berlin would normally be the hands down favorite, but they are not looking the same because you also have Prague from the Czech League and Guaguas out of Spain, one of the teams coming through the qualifiers, led by none other than Antomani Wantorena and Nicolas Bruno, the Argentinian Olympian. Now, in Pool D on the men's side, another really interesting one, Rzeszów in this pool. Also Zawiercie. So you got two Polish teams in Pool D. That'll be fun. Lüneburg, who has looked pretty good so far this year in the Bundesliga. Now we get to see how they stack up against the Polish teams, and then Sporting out of Portugal. Good luck, guys. Appreciate you guys come and have a cookie. I mean, I guess we'll see how they do against Lüneburg. Lüneburg has they've kind of missed some opportunities in the past few years of the Champions League, so this is their big year to be able to really solidify themselves as one of those clubs. And then finally, in Pool E, this one has two clear favorites. Lubeci Vitanova out of Italy, of course. Projekt Warszawa out of the PlusLiga. They're a pretty hot team right now. They've won 4 in a row, so we'll see how that continues to go. Montpellier out of France. And then you have Leuven, Volley Haasvrode out of the Dutch league. So that is going to be pretty interesting. All of that starts up next week. I don't want to really go too far into it because I'll have next week's episode to talk about that. Okay. Now, from the Champions League to the PlusLiga, we are going to talk about the PlusLiga that just keeps on getting messier and messier. Everyone is beating everyone. Now, it has been so much fun to watch the PlusLiga, right? Every team in the league has lost at least 2 matches, showing so much parity. And I mean, I'm pretty sure there's actually been another result. I'm pretty sure Gorjuv beat Lviv in 5 just before just after I did all this, so it's not going to be featured here, but so much going on. As I said just a little bit earlier, Warszawa is the hottest team in the league right now. They have won 4 in a row, including 2 good matches this week. One of them with a big 3-2 win over Olsztyn, and Olsztyn was in second place before that one. They are still currently in second place after that loss to Warszawa, but still very, very interesting. So this one was a big one. Warszawa, it was honestly a really entertaining match. This was one of the few matches that I did watch this week. And Warszawa, when they look good, they look really good. They look really good when they look good. And Linus Weber, when he has been there, he was fantastic in this one. 26 points. He was 22 for 34, hitting a 65% with a 52% efficiency. That is spicy. You also have Kuba, Jakub Kovkanovski, going absolutely off. He had 22 points out of the middle. 15 for 22 overall with a 54% efficiency. He also had 3 blocks and 4 aces. He had 4 aces on 22 attempts and only 3 errors. So he had more aces than errors, which is really, really rare. And overall for this team, for Warszawa, serving was the key in this one. They had 9 aces and 18 errors, a 1-to-2 ace to error ratio. You'll love to see it. Absolute beauty. On the Olsztyn side of things, it was a 2-headed dragon for Olsztyn. 24 points for Karlitzek. He was 22 for 45. And then Jan Hadrava, 24 points as well. He was 18 for 38 with 4 blocks and 2 aces. He also had 10 digs as he continues to be one of the best defensive players in the league this year, and that's how he's keeping Arthur Schwartz off the court. But still, a really good result for Warszawa against a really good Olsztyn team, right? I always kind of see I always kind of see Gdansk and Olsztyn be very similar teams, and I think they are in a lot of ways, but the way Olsztyn has played with Johannes Thiele at the helm, the way they run their outsides with Hadrava and Karlitzek, and I mean, oh shoot, it wasn't even Pavel Halaba in this one. They went with Karol Borkowski. So maybe that was probably why we didn't see as great of a game from Olsztyn, but still, Warszawa, 4 straight wins. They did also get a nice little 3-dong over Gorzów, but we don't really need to talk about that all that much. We'll see who led that match. Bednar's led that match with 14. Klose had 10, and Kukanovsky had 11, going 7 for 9 down the middle with a couple of blocks and a couple of aces. He just continues to be so damn good. But another team that has been really good and has had 2 fantastic wins. I think I touched on it a little bit last week. They got a 5-set win over Zaksa last week, was Gdansk. Now, they got the 5-set win over Zaksa, and Zaksa, as it seems to be a little bit of a sickness going around the PlusLiga, Zaksa was missing Igor Grabelny. But then Gdansk goes down and turns around and takes down the league leaders in Zawiercie over the weekend in a really nice match on the back of Nasevic. Nasevic, 30 points, 30 dong in that 5-setter. It was a back and forth match. Gdansk took the first 25-16. Then it was Zawiercie 27-25. Gdansk took the third 25-23. Then 25-17 in the fourth for Zawiercie to force the fifth, where it was Gdansk who took it home, 15-9. But Nasevic with 30 in that one, Brand with 17, and Piotr Orchik also on the board there with 15. He only had a 32% efficiency. So once they can get going once again, him going, that is going to be a really good 3-headed offense, as Orchik actually led Gdansk in scoring last season. And for Zawiercie, it was unfortunately not a great match from Bartosz Krolek. He came out after in the third set with only 6 points, but Bovanch was out there. Fantastic job. 22 points. He was 21 for 40 with a 45% efficiency. So a really interesting matchup here with Zawiercie. Still the league leaders falling to Gdansk. And at this time, Gdansk is currently in 7th and Zawiercie is still in 1st. As we continue to look at some of the results over this past week, I've talked in the past about how good Skra's season has been this year, but it was not great this week as they had one of their worst showings, and Resovia absolutely dominated them in every single department. In serving, they outserved them 6 aces to 2. They outhit them 45-30, right? The highest scores for Skra only had 8 points, and that was Putkon and Zakieta, so not a really good showing. 5-2 blocks as well. Even defensively, it was a big lopsided result. 28 digs for Resovia, 18 for Skra, and Resovia, Clement Chebul, 17 points in this one. Karol Butrin with 12, and Danny Demyanenko with 10, as well as Resovia continues to truck along as one of the best teams in the league. And I know you guys don't have faith, but they are one of the few teams with only 2 losses. Resovia, Warszawa, and Skra, are the only 3 teams with 2 losses. Now, from teams with not many losses to teams with not many wins, things continue to go bad for Norwich Czestochowa as they fired their coach this week. And by firing their coach, and they lost 3-2 to Gorzów, which that one is a really tough one, as both of those teams are at the bottom of the standings right now with only 2 wins. Oh, actually, no. Gorzów just won, didn't they? So Gorzów has 2 wins. So does Kelm. So it's only Czestochowa and Suwałki who have 1 win apiece. But yeah, they went down, lost to Gorzów, which that's tough. It really is a tough one for Norvid. And unfortunately, the stats only got the first set for this one, so I can't even tell you what the stats were looking like. But they also went toe-to-toe with Yashemsky JSW on the weekend with their new head coach, Lubomir Tavica. Old man Tragica is now coaching. Hopefully he's not setting for Norvid. And this one, I thought Norvid looked all right, but they, JSW playing without Nick Scherzen still was able to get it done in 5. I thought Norvid did a really good job to force it to 5, but just couldn't get the job done. And it really, to me, it comes down to their reception. There's a few issues for Norvid right now. I think first and foremost, the reception against JSW. They only passed 36% positive, 12% perfect. You have DeCecco out there. You need to put him on the net. You need to get him in play. Whereas JSW passed 49% perfect or positive and 26% perfect. In this one, we finally saw Milad Abadapur come off the court, and towards the end of the match, it was Kiros and Lipinski. And Lipinski actually had a really good game. He was in for all 5 sets. He was their leader in this one with 24 points. He was 21 for 34, hitting a 62% with a 52% efficiency. Really good. He didn't pass the grade, only 28% positive and 6% perfect on 35 targets. So passing just a little bit over a third of the receptions out there. But I think that there's a few issues. First and foremost, the serve receive for Norvid has been terrible. Also, Milad, I think, Abadapur has not looked great. He really hasn't. He only has a 22% efficiency so far on the season. And that's a guy that really anchored them last year and really hasn't been fantastic. I don't know if it's because of the connection there with the Checo or what's going on, but the efficiency on Milad, because I think he's hitting about 44%, but his efficiency is about half that at 22. So it's good. Milad got injured. Okay. Maybe a little bit of rehabbing time will do him some good. But I think one of the other issues that I saw in Norvid in this match, like kind of later in the match when I was watching it, is that they make a decent amount of digs, but they don't convert them into points, right? They get ball touches, but they just put themselves in further bad situations and then send over a free ball and aren't really able to convert. So Norvid, who was a team that everyone was expecting to be in the playoff hunt this year, hasn't really been able to produce so far. So their GM says that it might be because Milad missed the national team summer and was not as well prepared physically, and that's a tough one if it is actually the case. Looking at the standings right now in the PlusLiga, as I mentioned before, Kuprum Gorjuv actually has one more win than they do, because I took this screenshot just before the match ended, I guess. But Zavierci still in the first spot. Olsztyn, Rzeszów, Warszawa, Lublin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. Then you go Skra, Gdansk, JSW, Zaksa. I think that is really the next group. And then with anywhere from 6 to 3 wins. Then you've got Lviv, Gorjuv, Helm, Czestochowa, and Suwałki. Helm and Lviv actually had a pretty interesting match earlier this week that Lviv ended up winning in 5, but it was an interesting one to watch for sure. Now, I'm not going to really touch on the Lega volley all that much because it was a pretty pedestrian week over in Italy. Really not that much to talk about in the Lega volley. It was pretty normal. Trentino got a 3-0 win over Milano. Modena got a 3-1 win over Cotazzolina to move up in the standings. Perugia took down Cisterna 3-0. Lube took down Cuneo 3-0 as well. Verona got a 3-1 win over Padova, and Piacenza got a 3-0 win over Monza. Nothing really all that interesting to talk about there. So we'll take a quick look at the standings here. Perugia continues to be at the top. Verona in second, Trentino in third, Lube in fourth. Now with that win, it brings Modena up to fifth, which is with 1 point ahead of Piacenza. Both teams are at 5 and 3, but Modena has 16 points. Piacenza has 15. You've got Milano in seventh, Cuneo in eighth. Very looking good for the team coming up. And I'm not going to say that they're safe, but looking pretty good so far. Especially you got Padova in 9th, Cisterna in 10th, Monza in 11th. I've been a little bit disappointed with them. I thought that they were going to maybe do a little bit better, getting a bit of a work more an approach with their roster. Hasn't worked out great. Gotet Zolina pulling up the rear with only 1 point and an 0-8 start to the season. But remember, they weren't that great last year until about halfway through when they went on that run when the TGE energy started coming up. So let's see if they can do more of that again this year. And I don't even have anything to talk about the Lega Volley Femminile, but as I remember it, nothing really happened there. One thing to mention though about the Lega Volley is that we do have a match day tomorrow on Wednesday. So if you're a fan of the Lega Volley, check that out. We've got Trentino against Modena, Verona against Cisterna, Piacenza against Padova, Gotazzolina against Perugia, Monza against Lube, and then on Thursday you have Cuneo against Milano. That one could actually be pretty good, an 8 versus 9 matchup. Let's see if Cuneo can get the job done against the young guys, the old guys of Cuneo against the young guys of Milano. Let's see how it works out. That one will be on Thursday at 8:45 Italy time. So that'll be 2:45 here in North America. Moving on now to the Efeler Ligi, where we did have a match day today. And there were some very interesting matchups today. Halkbank getting a 3-dong on Fenerbahce. And Fenerbahce has lost a couple of games this year. And I mean, this Fenerbahce roster is absolutely loaded. Engapeth only with 9 points in this one. He was 6 for 13, hitting a 23% efficiency with a block and 2 aces. Also for Fenerbahce, kind of struggling. Adas Lugumja ended up getting subbed out with only 3 points. He was 3 for 10 with a 10% efficiency. So Halkbank, who started the season pretty sketchily, but did just pick up Alexander Slivka, who's going to be joining them. We didn't see Slivka in this match. I don't even think he was on the roster at all. But Leal with 13, Sokolov with 13, and Matej Kaczynski with 10. So the old men for Halkbank getting the job done and getting a nice little 3-dong. You love to see it. And then, as I also mentioned, Ziraat Bank and Fener and Galatasaray going toe-to-toe, and Ziraat Bank ended up taking this one in 5. It was 25-21 for Ziraat Bank, 25-23 for Galatasaray, 25-22 for Ziraat Bank, 25-18 for Gala, and then 15-11 for Ziraat Bank. And Ziraat Bank, led by Namir, who has continued to score at just an unbelievable pace, 34 points in this match, 28 for 55. Not the greatest efficiency. He, made 12 combined errors, so we had a 29% efficiency. But still, when you're scoring 28 points offensively, getting 3 blocks and 3 aces, you can kind of do what you want. Klevno had 14, Fornal had 14, and Bediran had 13 as well. And it looks like from the chat that that was a spicy one. And this one was like an early match in Turkey. So this match was actually over before it match ended at 7:35 a.m. my time. So I unfortunately did not watch it. And the Turkish matches have been all of a sudden geo-blocked. And I need to get myself a nice little VPN. That's the word I was looking for. I need to get myself a nice little VPN. But for Galatasaray, and it's funny because it sounds like their fans have really been going off on Umut Kakir and trying to get rid of him. They actually put up a pretty good showing, going toe to toe with the best team in the league. Patri had 23, Jeshki had 16 as well. Looks like this match was on at 1 p.m. Turkish time, so it explains why I wasn't able to watch it. So that's a really nice win for them. And also, the second best team in the league, Istanbul Gençlik, another 3-dong. And this team, it continues to roll. They continue to roll. They are now 7-1, and if you want to hear more about that one, I will be releasing tomorrow my interview with Luciano Polonsky, who plays for Istanbul Gençlik, and we talk about a whole bunch of things, including the Efeler Ligi and what he thinks about it. And for those who asked in the Discord, he talks about driving in Istanbul as well. So definitely check that one out. It will be going live, I think 3 a.m. Eastern time, so that's 9 a.m. in Europe, and like 11 a.m. in Turkey. So that will be a very interesting one. But one other result that I do want to talk about, because Sport Toto has now been a bit of a slide. That was a team, that was a team that was, I think, 3rd and 4th not too long ago. Then they lost 2 in a row. I mean, Herrera had 32 in this one. Ivovic had 15. And other than that, they got no help at all, because Benny Tweenstra actually got injured for Sport Toto. So they brought in Oriol Comejo to join this roster. But Sport Toto ends up losing to Alanya. And Alanya has been another pretty interesting and surprising team this year. Sadat Bardia with the Iranian with 22, then Avci Batuhan with 26. He was 20 for 29 with a 66% efficiency. Yo, that is big. Now, also on this team, and I got to talk about it, of course, is Stephen Marshall, former Canadian libero, but playing left side for this team. 12 points. He was 10 for 25, but did pass 68% positive and 55% perfect on 31 targets. So that is huge. And as Munax is saying, Istanbul Gençlik did beat Fenerbahce, and they've had a lot of injuries, including their opposites and some of their middles too. So that's exactly what Polonsky talks about a little bit in our interview, is that this team is kind of reassessing their goals and surprising everyone in the Efeler Ligi and doing a much better job overall. And as I said, this one has to be a really quick one. So just looking here at the standings of the Efeler Ligi, you got Ziraatbank in first, 8-0. Istanbul Gençlik in second at 7-1. Then you got Halkbank, Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Istanbul, BBSK, Altekma, and Sport Toto round out the top 8. And Alanya is sitting in 10th at 3-5 after that win over Sport Toto, who went from 4-2 to now 4-4. Because especially like the main sponsor, I know once again, Luciano talked to me about it this weekend, where their win against Sport Toto was huge, because Sport Toto is also the main sponsor for Istanbul Gençlik, and now they're up there at 7-1 and really making a good name of themselves. So here's what we got for the Sultanlar Ligi. Nothing too surprising. Galatasaray won, Zarenspor won, Eczacıbaşı won, Vakıfbank won, Fenerbahce won, and pretty much the same thing in the standings. Vakıfbank and Fenerbahce are at the top. You got Galatasaray, Zarenspor in 3rd and 4th, Eczacıbaşı in 5th, Nilüfer in 6th, RS Kargol in 7th, and İlkbank in 8th, with Beşiktaş and THY in 9th and 10th. So, yeah, that will do it for today. That will do it for today's episode of the Volleyball Journal. I just had to get this one in really quickly before I go buy a Christmas tree. So that is a thing we do here in Canada. We buy real Christmas trees, like you see in the movies. If you're watching this elsewhere, yes, we do that. And if you're Canadian, don't get on me about buying a real Christmas tree. I know some of you hate it, but it's one of those few things that I actually really like about Christmas. Okay, so love you all, appreciate you all. Once again, you got Lega Volley tomorrow. You got Women's Champions League tomorrow. You've got a big matchup for Women's Champions League on Thursday. And also check out my interview with Luciano Polonsky on Pepper with Everett that goes live tomorrow. Peace out. Thank you very much. Love you all, and have a great night. Bye.